Ooh. Hello, everyone. It's a long time no see. two weeks away on holiday. It's been a fantastic holiday over in Indonesia, visiting some of Sarah's family, her brother and sister-in-law, and yeah, amazing place. Managed to get a bit of history in there as well. I think the local Indonesians were somewhat surprised that I knew that the British had invaded Java in 1811, and also that we had been involved trying to reinstall the Dutch at the end of the Second World War. And yeah, not probably not one of our great moments in history, but sort of, prisoner of politics, I guess. So anyway, I'm back in action. I'm actually doing a live show for my patrons at 7 o'clock. So this is going to have to be a real quick one. As you can tell, got a bit of lurgy from my travels. I think it's probably the air conditioning on the plane, actually. But great news. Well, I think it's great news. I have a new video out. Been working my socks off yesterday and today, and I've got a new video out for you. So it's live now. In fact, there's a link in the description below. So yeah, check it out in a moment. And I just want to say, who we got? James Beeching. I'm back. Yes, I am. Kirk, nice howdy, and howdy to you too. Gaslight Studios, good afternoon from the USA. Lovely to see you guys over in the States. Hope it's all going well. Too old for two wheels. I am very well, apart from the lurgy. And I tell you what, trying to record a video when you've got a sore throat is really blinking hard. But I got there. Lots of water. I've drunk something like 4 litres of water today. That's 8 pints in old currency. So yeah, I'm not only am I going to have to probably keep this one very short because I'm doing the live show for my patrons at 7 o'clock, but equally I probably need to go to the loo as well, don't I? But anyway. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Too old for two wheels. Gaslight Studios rebooted. What's my favourite historical siege to read about or study? Ooh, that's a blinking good question. Golly, there are so many. I mean, was Stalingrad a siege or was it a battle? But Stalingrad, is a pretty impressive battle. Nothing to do with British military history, but certainly military history. If I'm looking at British sieges, I think some of the stuff in the Boer War is quite impressive. Siege of Lucknow in the Indian Mutiny or the Great Rebellion in India in 1857. The Boer War, Ladysmith, Kimberley mainly because Cecil Rhodes was such a pain in the backside to the military commander there. And of course, Mafeking with Baden-Powell. Interesting. So yeah, maybe the Boer War. But as I say, Siege of Lucknow, I don't know. I mean, if you've got a favourite siege and you think I should be learning about it or talking about it, stick it in the comments, won't you? Mike Disabled Welshman, hi to you too. Stalingrad was a battle, James is saying. Okay, so we won't have that down as a siege. But did I have a nice holiday, says Richard? Yes, I did. Absolutely fantastic. I'll tell you one thing. I saw the Komodo dragons. Now, I've seen them in zoos. And, when you're safely away from them in a zoo, Komodo dragons just look like large lizards. I actually went on a nature walk, and they were in the wild. And we went into this paddock. That's the best way I could describe it. And there were 5 of these blinking things. And they're all sort of sedate. One was wandering around. But then I had it in the back of my head. Komodo dragons can accelerate at 20 kilometers an hour. That's 12 miles an hour. I can run, well, when I'm out jogging at any rate, I can run at about somewhere between 7 and 8 miles an hour. So I have to be honest, these Komodo dragons are awesome things, but I really wasn't happy about being in there. And there's a photo of me and Sarah. I'm not sure who looks the least impressed. Great food in Indonesia, got to say that. Did some great reading as well. Tell you one of the books I did read. Been reading Dirty Little War, all about the British involvement, principally British, also French and US involvement in the Russian Civil War. The Bolsheviks, the whites versus the reds in 1918 through to 1920. That's a really good book, really, really interesting. Don't know anything about it, and I've got a story that I'm drawing from that coming very, very soon. But yeah, really, really interesting. We talk about Crimean War. We forget that the British were all over the show in Russia at the end of the First World War. Another one of Winston Churchill's little interventions, of course. But the other one I read was I read Mary Seacole's memoirs. Mary Seacole, the Jamaican nurse who was in the Crimean War, held up as a bit of a hero in certainly the Afro-Caribbean community in Britain as sort of a great nurse. And actually, I have to be honest, I came from it in the middle because I don't like the way people necessarily slag her off, but at the same time, I do think that she's being bigged up. Because she's almost seen as sometimes, like I saw a horrible history program, and it was almost like she's a rival of Florence Nightingale, absolute load of tosh. But she, a really good memoir, I have to be honest. And I will do something around Mary Seacole and Florence Nightingale, not as rivals, but just, they were very, very different people. In many respects, Florence Nightingale was an administrator. That's why she got her hospitals running as well as she did. This is real top line. Mary Seacole was just the sort of person you want living down your road. Someone who, made broth and, she did go out under fire and treat her troops, but not quite in the same vein as maybe some of the army chaplains did in the First World War and the medical stretcher bearers. But yeah, I mean, really interesting. One of the really interesting things in her memoirs is she does question why she wasn't recruited as a nurse, seeing as she actually had a lot of experience of things like cholera and typhus over in the Caribbean and Central America. She sort of worked in the Panama area. And she felt that as the British Army was suffering far more from those diseases in Crimea than actually being shot by Russians, that she had something she could offer the party. And she did question whether it was the colour of her skin. Interestingly, by the way, Mary Seacole refers to Mary Seacole had Scottish blood, so she would be mixed race, is what we'd call nowadays. And she certainly refers to some of the real black people in Panama with the N-word, which I find fascinating. I just thought, whoa, Mary Seacole, you don't want to be doing that one. But really interesting book. And you know me, I try and go down the line, whilst I'm very proudly British. But I do like to see the different sides, and it was an eye opener for me. There you go. Battle of Cameron, please, says James Taylor. Any interest in covering the first Opium War campaigns? Don't forget, I do have a video about the first Opium War. I did that about a year ago, just over a year ago. So it's in the collection somewhere there for you. Anglo-Zulu Wars. Excuse me, Odd Glornfindel. Beg your pardon if I got it wrong. You like my Anglo-Zulu War stuff. You like the Anglo-Saxon stuff as well. I have to say, the Anglo-Saxon stuff, as far as views are concerned, has really just bombed, which I'm really disappointed with, if I'm honest. So I'm probably going to look at concentrating a little bit more 18th century, British 18th century through to the 20th century, principally around military. And I might set up a different channel, doing some of the Anglo-Saxon stuff and some of the stuff further back in British history, just so that people who love all the Zulu Wars and World War One and all that, they don't get confused. There'll be the History Chap, and then they're going to find a separate channel name probably for more general British history inside the British Isles, because I think the Anglo-Saxon stuff's great as well. But Bunker Hill, says James Beeching, that would be good. Oh, we had adverts on. I probably forgot to disable those. Sorry, guys. I was in a bit of a hurry because I've got 8 minutes before I go live on my patrons. The patrons thing, by the way, don't know if any of you are patrons. A couple of you. No, some of you are supporters here on YouTube. I can see the little insignia against your names. James Taylor, thank you very much, mate, for your support. But what was I going to say? Yeah, that my patrons channel, or my patrons thing, which there is a link for that down below as well. But every week I do a live show just for the patrons, and we delve into some of the events that happened in British history this week. And so this week, what have we got? I've got a few actually. I got the opening of the Great Exhibition, that will be on there. The first FA Cup final at Wembley, the White Horse final. We'll be talking about that as well. So do flick around. It's not just military stuff with the patrons, but there you go. Uh, Oh, Robert Marshall has said, how about the 95? I think British who served in the Wehrmacht or the British Marine who was captured in Korea and took their side. Didn't know about that one. The British in the Wehrmacht, yeah, what they called the Legion of St. George. I actually think they were attached to the Waffen SS, like a lot of the other national groups that were recruited into the German armed forces. But they were a pretty pitiful group of people. Um, uh, Trevor Hughes says, you're interested in the Wars of the Roses. Do you know, I did a 6-part series on the Wars of the Roses a couple of years ago now. And I have to say, I knew nothing about it before I started researching it. Well, not a lot. I got a lot of people from my newsletter writing in saying, love to know about the Wars of the Roses. So I did it. And that was quite cool, actually. Wasn't it just Anzac Day? Yes, it was. Was it Saturday or Friday? Can't remember. 25th, whatever that was. Friday, wasn't it? James, just in your question, your moment about Crystal Palace. Yeah. Foxall, you're from a hospital bed. Well, I hope you're on the mend, or at least feeling reasonably well. And I wish you all the best in your recovery, mate. So, look, folks, I'm going to call it a day. Don't forget, this Friday, we'll be doing a live show, 1 o'clock. There is, just watch my comments. My community posts should be doing one. The only thing is, Sarah's daughter has a electrician going to her house. And she's at school, she's a teacher. And so she's asked if I can go around. I'm trying to nail it down to a time. But I might be in trouble doing a 1 o'clock live on Friday. But there we go. But in the meantime, have a look at this evening's video. Only went live, about 25, 30 minutes ago. So have a look at that. The British soldiers, or the British who fought for the Papal armies during the 1861 to 1870, the last throes of the independent papal states, as they were the Pope was trying to prevent Italian unification. And these were British, not just like a lot of Irish Catholics, surprise, surprise, but actually English Catholics and Scottish Catholics as well. And fascinating story, really, just if you think a lot of 19th century history is forgotten with the colonial wars and that, try British subjects of Queen Victoria fighting for the Pope. Bet you've never heard of that one, have you? So check it out. And then later this week, I'm planning to have out the British expedition to Abyssinia in the 1860s, Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia. That is a great expedition, great logistical operation by General Napier. And of course, features as ever in Harry Flashman. Of course, Harry Flashman in George MacDonald Fraser's books is in the Abyssinian campaign. So, folks, I'm just going to. Richard Bradley, thank you very much indeed for joining my YouTube supporters channel. That's the entry point channel, effectively, for those who don't want to commit to being patrons. And I'm going to be looking to see how we can really spice that up going forward. So thank you very much, Richard, for joining me. And as I said earlier, James mentioned you in dispatches as well. Fahim, appreciate that. Check out that Opium War video. Yeah, please do. I've done one on the first Opium War and also 2 on the second Opium War. And there's also one about the Boxer Rebellion. And way back, nearly 3 years ago, I did tell the story briefly of the Taiping Rebellion, where General Charles Gordon, Chinese Gordon as he became known in the British press, fought on behalf of the imperial armies against the Taiping Rebellion. So Chinese history, a lot more to do, loads more to go at in 18th, 19th, 20th century history. We'll start to go back a little bit into the 18th, American Wars of Independence. And of course, then we've got a series of sort of British-French wars and British-Spanish wars in that period too. And also a couple of things like the Jacobite Rebellion in Britain. So loads still to come. I'm back in action, minus a crappy throat, and I'd better get off and go and see my patrons now. Enjoy the video, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for joining me and joining in the chat this evening as well, guys. Thank you very much indeed.